world's nature.
Disclaimer. This video is intended for entertainment purposes only. It is not meant to be taken seriously or as a reflection of reality. Please view this video with discretion. The Goat-Eating Ghost of Ramgadh. The remote Indian village of Ramgadh was a peaceful place, nestled in the foothills of the Himalayas. Its inhabitants were simple folk, content with their agrarian lifestyle. But one day, a shadow fell over the village. It began with the disappearance of a goat. One morning, a farmer named Ramu woke up to find his prized goat missing from its pen. He searched the entire village, but there was no sign of it. The next day, another goat vanished. And then another. Within a week, several goats had disappeared from Ramgadh. The villagers were baffled. They had never seen anything like it. One night, Ramu was sitting on his porch, keeping watch over his remaining goats. He was tired and worried, but he was determined to protect his livestock. Suddenly, he heard a noise coming from the goat pen. He stood up and cautiously approached the pen. He peered through the cracks in the fence and saw a terrifying sight. A ghostly figure was standing in the middle of the pen, feasting on one of his goats. The figure was tall and gaunt, with pale skin and sunken eyes. It was wearing a tattered white robe, and its long hair was matted and tangled. Ramu screamed in terror and ran back to his house. He woke up his wife and told her what he had seen. His wife didn't believe him at first, but when she saw the look of fear on his face, she knew that he was telling the truth. Ramu and his wife went to the village elders and told them about the ghost. The elders were skeptical at first, but when they heard the stories of other villagers who had seen the ghost, they realized that something had to be done. The elders gathered the villagers and told them about the ghost. They warned everyone to be careful and to stay indoors at night. They also decided to hold a special puja to appease the ghost and drive it out of the village. The next day, the villagers gathered at the temple for the puja. The elders chanted mantras and made offerings to the gods. They begged the gods to protect the village from the ghost. After the puja, the villagers went home and waited, but the ghost did not return. The villagers were relieved, but they were still cautious. They knew that the ghost could come back at any time. A few weeks passed, and the villagers began to relax. They thought that the ghost had been appeased by the puja. But then, one night, the goat-eating ghost returned. This time, the ghost attacked Ramu's house. It broke through the door and slaughtered all of Ramu's goats. Ramu and his wife managed to escape, but they were badly shaken. The next morning, the villagers gathered at Ramu's house to survey the damage. They were horrified by what they saw. The goat pen was a bloodbath. And on the ground, they saw a message written in blood. "I am the goat-eating ghost of Ramgadh. I will not be appeased. I will have my revenge." The villagers were terrified. They didn't know what to do. They were afraid that the ghost would attack them next. That night, no one slept in the village. The villagers gathered at the temple and waited for the ghost to attack. But the ghost did not come. The next day, the villagers decided to leave Ramgadh. They packed up their belongings and headed for the nearest town. They were determined to escape the goat-eating ghost. But the ghost was not finished with Ramgadh. It followed the villagers to the town. And that night, it began to attack them. The ghost killed several villagers before it was finally driven away. But the villagers knew that the ghost would return. They were afraid to go back to the village, and they were afraid to stay in the town. The villagers were trapped. They didn't know where to go or what to do. They were at the mercy of the goat-eating ghost. A young man named Arjun had grown up in the village. He had left the village to study in the city, but he had returned home when he heard about the goat-eating ghost. Arjun was determined to save his village. He had learned about ghosts and demons in his studies, and he knew that there was a way to defeat the goat-eating ghost. Arjun went to the village elders and told them about his plan. The elders were skeptical at first, but they were desperate. They agreed to let Arjun try his plan. Arjun gathered the villagers and told them about his plan. He told them that they would need to work together to defeat the ghost. The villagers agreed to Arjun's plan. Arjun and the villagers worked all night to prepare for the ghost's attack. They built a bonfire in the center of the village and gathered all of the holy items they could find. Arjun also created a special potion to ward off the ghost. He mixed together holy water, cow dung, and other sacred ingredients. When the sun began to set, the villagers gathered around the bonfire. Arjun led them in a prayer, and then he began to chant mantras. The ghost arrived at midnight. It was a terrifying sight. It was even taller and gaunt than Arjun had imagined. Its eyes were glowing red, and its fangs were bared. The villagers screamed in terror. But Arjun stood his ground. He raised the potion and threw it at the ghost. The potion hit the ghost in the chest, and it let out a blood-curdling scream. It staggered backwards and then collapsed to the ground. Arjun rushed forward and planted a foot on the ghost's chest. He recited a powerful mantra, and the ghost began to shrink. Within seconds, it had disappeared. The villagers cheered. They had defeated the goat-eating ghost. Arjun and the villagers rebuilt Ramgadh. They planted new crops and raised new livestock. And they lived happily ever after. Many years later, Arjun was sitting on his porch, telling the story of the goat-eating ghost to his grandchildren. "The ghost is gone," he said. "But we must never forget what happened. We must always be vigilant, and we must always be prepared to defend our village." The grandchildren listened intently to Arjun's story. They knew that the ghost was real, and they knew that their grandfather was a hero. Thank you to all of you viewers on the World's Nature YouTube channel for watching this story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this story, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the World's Nature channel. Your likes and subscriptions help us to create more great content for you. Take care and goodbye.